Hello, everyone. As it's already 3 p.m., so I suggest we start. And I guess more people will join, but as we have the intro part at the beginning, maybe they will not miss a lot. So, hello. My name is Julius. I'm the CEO or co-founder of CloudWiser, and we're your hosts for this event. And I'm really happy to see people connecting, joining, and hopefully even more will come, because I understand this is quite a specific topic that we'll be covering today, but also an important one, because security is always a thing you should take seriously, especially in the cloud. So to begin with, let me just give you a few sentences to do a short intro about CloudWiser, because at least in the among the names in the registrations, I saw some new ones. So I guess we're not familiar with everybody here. So CloudWiser, we're an advanced tier partner focusing only on AWS. We're operating in the Baltic states, and this is our main focus: Baltic states, AWS, and this is what we do. This is what we live by every day. Our main business is AWS resell. So we basically allow current AWS customers to get some extra stuff at no extra cost. And if you're currently using AWS, I saw from the list of participants and the registration that there is definitely a number of those. So I highly recommend to think about it and reach out to me if you're interested in any of our programs on resell. But another part of our business is professional services that mostly comes in two basic flavors. That's one of it is DevOps, and the second one is security. And naturally, the security is what we'll be covering and talking today. And for us, Check Point was a natural fit for partnering in that area, because they have a number of very cool solutions that could be of help. And two of them, which Ozan will be covering mostly today, I think they're a great fit for anybody running in the cloud and thinking about how you should make your security even stronger than with the standard means that are provided by AWS. So, we usually work with those solutions that you'll be seeing today with customers that are only thinking about moving to AWS, and maybe they have even Check Point running on-prem on their current environment, or these are current AWS customers that want to harden their security and perimeter a lot stronger than it is today. So advanced firewalling is something you need to think about. Ozan will tell you definitely all the details. We'll have a short demo as well at the end. Some logistic details before we start. So the Q&A part, please, all the questions are very much welcome. Please submit them in the Q&A area that is below. I already seen that we have some questions, and we'll go through them at the end of the presentation, with a short Q&A. Also, we are recording this presentation, so we'll share the link as well with you after the event, and feel free to share it with anyone that's interested in this topic as well. So I guess that's it from my side. Ozan, are you ready to take over?
Yeah, thank you, Julius, for the introduction. And actually, the Q&A session is already started with a question I answered while you're speaking. So thanks for this organization, first of all, the CloudWiser. I want to thank you guys for this webinar. Today, I will be speaking about the cloud security portfolio of Check Point, specifically about two products, of course, CloudGuard IaaS and CloudGuard Dome 9. So let me firstly share my screen. Is it okay? The screen share? Perfect. So thanks again. My name is Ozan. I'm working for Check Point as Cloud Security Architect in EMEA region. Um, I'm specialized on the cloud security products of Check Point. Before getting into slides, we would like to ask you two questions. One is about your cloud expertise, and another one is about Check Point products. I mean, how are you familiar with our products? Are you familiar with AWS? To what level? So, according to your input, I will stay in more technical details, in different slides. Maybe we can spend more time according to the experience we have as of today. So let me stop my screen share again.
Yeah. I started the poll.
Yeah, I saw the question just popped up, and
yeah. We have some answers coming in already.
Okay.
Okay, just give time. We have around 20 people online now, and 13 votes. So okay, so I'll end the poll. Let's see the results. Okay. Okay, so as you see, we have on AWS side, we are mostly like more or less mid-level experts.
Yeah,
And
mid-level, we can say that. Yes.
I think like some of the guys would like a lot of details on Check Point, but yeah, we see that more than half have no prior experience with that.
So don't worry, guys. For the Check Point part, I will spend more time to describe our products. So of course, for AWS portion, it will be easy for you to understand, but I will explain our solutions also. So let me share again. Thanks for voting. Okay, so as I described myself, I'm in the EMEA region. So before getting into the cloudy discussions, I want to speak about Check Point for sure. For the ones don't know what is Check Point, what are we doing? First of all, we are a cybersecurity company for almost last 25 years, almost 30 years it's about to be. And we are traded on NASDAQ since 1996. You can check our stocks in as CHKP. And actually, we are creating a technology. We have proprietary technologies as a cutting-edge technologies. And when you check the Gartner reports, NSS Lab reports, you will see our name in the top right of the screen of this major quadrant from Gartner. And all over the world, we have operation in more than 88 countries with almost 6,000 employees working together in the globe. So from a technical perspective, we have really different products touching different multiple points. This is a slide that actually, as we call it, the Infinity Next architecture. So we are not only a network security company. Actually, we started our journey in the security market, in the cybersecurity scene, with the network security product with a firewall one. But things are pretty changed, as you can see in the screen right now. So we are now we have many different pillars. Of course, network is still out there, and we have an endpoint solution protecting our customers' endpoint devices, laptops, and again, enabling a sandblast technology on their endpoint devices. Another pillar is the mobile protection. We have a sandblast mobile application protecting our customers' mobile devices, Android and iOS devices. So everyone is mobile, and even those days, eventually, because of the coronavirus, everybody is working from home. We are using our mobile phones and endpoint devices to connect our company resources using VPNs, using different technologies. So mobile protection is another point that we're touching with a specific product. Of course, we will be touching and spending more time about cloud today. As of today, we have 8 different cloud security products under the portfolio. I joined Check Point 2 years ago. During those days, we used to have only 2 products. So why I'm telling this, actually, Check Point is investing a lot in cloud security market. So we are acquiring some companies, adding to the portfolio, and it's becoming the a big umbrella to protect multiple different workloads and different architectures, different public and private cloud environments of our customers. So Of course, we are offering a centralized and consolidated security management. I will be giving some more information about that in upcoming slides. So let's start our discussion with the cloud market, what is really happening out there. Um, in my region, actually in Middle East and Africa and Eastern Europe, the adoption levels could be a bit low if you compare North US and the other European countries, but still the cloud journey is out there and enterprises are moving their workloads, their data to the public and private cloud environments. So our habits, our traditional thinking is changing. Eventually it needs to be changed because architectures are changing. They have different rules, they have different routing, switching algorithms behind the scenes that we cannot touch most of the times. So from our virtual data centers, we are moving into a private and multiple public cloud platforms. So in hybrid cloud platform. So multi-cloud is also a norm. Customers are using multiple public clouds in the same time, most of the times for disaster recovery, for different purposes. So it's out there. Companies are using that. And another point I want to raise here, from a centralized locations, from a centralized internet breakouts, companies are moving, different branch offices, hundreds of them, branch offices spread it out all of the world, and they are using multiple different hubs for internet breakouts. So SD-WAN technology is, coming up with this approach. So it's coming as a norm, and many enterprises, uh, leaving the traditional MPLS networks, getting into the and start consuming the SD-WAN technology. Another point is our application development lifecycle is changing from a monolithic approach to microservices. So it's also happening out there. I mean, it's only, of course, the cloud journey for the enterprise customers is starting with a traditional virtualization. It's a virtual machines for AWS, specifically a usage of infrastructure as a service model with EC2s and virtual machines, of course. But it's also available in AWS in public cloud platforms that customers are using container architectures, the Kubernetes clusters, and also a serverless functions, a Lambda function, for example, in AWS. So the development life cycle is completely changing from that we used to have in for many years, and now we are using CI/CD pipeline to participate and change our development habits. And of course, the applications were hosted approach, and now we're speaking about the customers are consuming SaaS applications like Office 365 is one of the examples. It's the most common one. A Google Suite, Google Drive, Dropbox, Salesforce. Actually, we are also using Salesforce as Check Point. So the SaaS applications is getting more and more popular every day. But in terms of security, when we speak about those environments, you cannot put a single layer approach. You should think about different layers available in the cloud platform. So the first layer, of course, it's coming maybe most of the people, since also I'm coming from the networking background, I'm always starting to think from the networking perspective. I mean, data plane protection, packet inspection, next-gen features, sandboxing, threat prevention. Okay, this is the first layer. Of course, we should still inspect the traffic for east-west and north-south communications, mostly the east-west to enable microsegmentation in our environment. So this is the similar idea that we used to have in our data centers for many years, that we are applying the same logic to the public cloud platform. It's just like an extension of our security policy from a data plane layer. So the second layer should be, we should be considering is the posture. So not only for AWS, for also actually all, we can apply this idea to any cloud platform. So since we are moving our resources, provisioning some stuff, configuring environment, so we are controlling the configuration. So we are still configuring the S3 bucket configuration. We are responsible for that. For if it is Azure, for the key management, Key Vault, we are still managing that. For security perspective, layer 4 security, I will speak in more detail. We are still on, controlling inbound and outbound rules configured on the security groups. So in the topological perspective, how many VPCs we have, how many peerings we have. So this is still, we are configuring some stuff, we are changing the configuration. Even the DevOps people are doing those configurations and changing the environment constantly. I mean, in a second, in a millisecond, they are pushing some stuff, they are deploying a code. It's actually a part of the CI/CD processes, and they are using Terraform scripts or CLI, to change some configuration. I mean, the changes are happening in seconds. So we should also consider as a second layer, the posture management is really important part, because if those configurations are not made correctly, let's say if someone created an S3 bucket and made it public, or if the person forgot to enable encryption in the S3 bucket, let's say, or versioning. So this is not a good configuration. It's not a compliant configuration. So posture management is another layer. So the third layer is application security. Of course, we are still, of course, we are exposing some services to the customers, to the end users, but it's not only HTTP or HTTPS based services. So we are seeing and APIs are exposed to the mobile applications, to the customers, to the softwares that the customers are using. So API security and WAP approach is coming to that point. I mean, it's actually, we are getting closer to the workload protection section, which is the fourth layer. So we should have kind of an umbrella approach that shows us everything with enabling some big data analytics and some machine learning algorithms, and enabling the threat hunting and a centralized intelligence. I mean, to show me what is really happening in terms of traffic, in terms of configuration, in terms of administrational traffic. I mean, who's configuring what, or who did this provisioning, and how long did it take? Or if someone tries to log in constantly to the cloud account, maybe there's an account takeover happening. So we should have an fourth layer covering all those changes and looking from a third eye approach. This is the layered architecture that we should be considering. So I also want to speak about a shared responsibility model. This is I'm always speaking about this topic for almost all the presentations I'm making. A shared responsibility model, as we are calling it as a model, actually it's more like a it's a contractual thing. It's a legal thing, first of all. So we can apply this to public cloud, to AWS, to Azure. So from the security perspective, the AWS or Azure or Google telling their customer that they are providing responsibility, and I mean, they are responsible for the security, but only for the physical segment. I mean, for hardware, they are managing, for networking, overlay networking, background, and the physical devices, of course, the servers and the storage units they have in their data centers, and the internet connection. But the rest of this, I mean, what do we have in the rest section? Actually, we have almost everything left to us I mean, we should still considering securing those pillars, starting from people to our data, our applications. I mean, I'm speaking about the infrastructure as a service model. We are still under responsibility for securing those pillars as I'm sharing with you right now. The middleware, we are still managing that, the runtime for the applications, and also operating system patches. We are still responsible for patching our Windows servers or Linux servers and downloading some stuff, patching constantly. Of course, this is the infrastructure as a service model, but when you move to the other as a service models, platform as a service, software as a service, responsibilities are changing accordingly. When you move to the right, and even of course in AWS and Azure, there are some services fully managed by AWS it's called as managed services, but still the data section is still are under responsibility. We should still protect our data all the time. So this is the shared responsibility model. So infrastructure as a service portion, if you are managing an EC2, for example, if you are still managing a Windows server or Linux server, this is infrastructure as a service model, and you should be still patching your operating system and thinking about layer 7 protection for the data plane layer. So I want to also speak about some threat landscape, because it's changing from our habits. What was happening in our data centers, we were purchasing a really strong firewall, hopefully from Check Point, and putting in front of the internet, I'm enabling north-south and east-west protection. Maybe 10 years ago, that was enough. Really strong firewall with, inspecting all the traffic, north, south, east, west, enabling threat prevention, layer 7 protection, IPS signatures, everything. But when we speak about the cloud platform, now we have actually new attack vectors, so to speak. So the attack vectors could be wrong configurations. So in the posture, maybe someone just created a new storage account in Azure and forget enabling, encryption. Actually, hundreds of use cases we can generate, or maybe even in a single VPC, we are seeing in the customer environment. Of course, they are managing EC2s, but even in the same VPC, there could be a container cluster, a Kubernetes cluster. Even again, in the same VPC, there could be a serverless function doing some, activities, triggering some other services of AWS, or maybe receiving some triggers from different SNS topics within the same environment. So multiple architectures, multiple type of workloads. Actually, when we move into different areas, different architectures, all are creating a new attack vector in our environment. So data plane protection, of course, is a good start. Always, we need to have a next-gen firewall, so to speak. Firewall, it will be a perimeter gateway in our cloud account. But also, we should still think about the posture management. If we are still under control, the privileges, permissive roles, giving to the people. This is the human nature. We are forgetting things, right? We are changing the configuration. We are giving someone a privilege, but we are forgetting to revoke that privilege. So let's say if you have a limited time of project for a month, if you have a communication with a consultancy company, probably you're creating some IAM users, IAM roles, and giving privileges to the people. But what happens if you forget those privileges? Think about a huge organization that have more than 5,000 EC2s in AWS, working with maybe 30 different consultancy, third-party companies, and hundreds of projects ongoing, multiple development projects ongoing, 200 people in the organization, in the DevOps team, constantly changing stuff and logging in, logging out. New people are coming to our organization. So really dynamic environment I'm speaking about. So we should put like an umbrella, sees everything, alerts me if bad things are happening, or even automatically changes the configuration, which is called auto-remediation. So I will speak about that later in the domain section. So let me move forward. So from the cloud security portfolio perspective, specifically for public clouds, we have 5 products, but in total under CloudGuard family, we have 8 products. SD-WAN is also part of the CloudGuard family. We will be speaking about Dome9 and CloudGuard IaaS today. And in the end of the presentation, I will be do a real-time demo. I created a lab environment in AWS cloud account I'm using, and I will do some testing for east-west, for north-south traffic, even an IPsec VPN tunnel termination. We will do that lab in the end. So the products, actually, I want to also summarize what are those products about. So we will spend a lot of time with the CloudGuard IaaS. It's a data plane protection. It's a virtual version of our physical appliances. Since the existing Check Point customers are using our appliances in their data centers for a long time. So this is the almost the same product that we are spinning up and provisioning CloudGuard IaaS instance EC2. Actually, it's one of the EC2s will be in the cloud account of the customer. So Dome9 is one of the acquisitions of Check Point made 1.5 years ago. So Dome9 is focusing the posture part. It's a configuration control plane management of the AWS, of Google and Azure. Even the Kubernetes clusters we can onboard into Dome9. So Dome9 is, this is called actually onboarding a cloud account into Dome9. It's basically a SaaS product. We are not installing anything in Dome9. We are just using REST APIs to communicate with AWS platform to read your metadata. So what kind of configuration you have, how many assets you have, what is your inventory, I mean, how many assets placed in different regions, in different VPCs, how many VPCs you have. So from a topological perspective into a low-level posture view, Dom9 is making possible for you to run compliancy checks, manual or in a scheduled way, according to the frequency you will define. And of course, it will be enabling auto-remediation. So Logic is another product, came with Dom9 acquisition. It's actually enabling the threat detection, and it's like a big data analytics tool. It's actually Logic is helping customers to correlate the cloud inventory with the actual traffic log. And for specifically for AWS, we're also collecting the administrational log from CloudTrail service. So it's correlating everything. It's like a bridge between your cloud environment and the CM tool. So you can also create some alerts with Logic, create some reports. You can check real-time data traffic, what is really happening in your environment. And even we integrated Logic with the threat cloud of Check Point. It's a centralized database. Actually, it's a huge database that consists many bad IP addresses, bad URLs, bad MD5 hashes reported already from different pillars of Check Point. So it's a huge database that we integrate with the Logic also. That means we can show you if a Lambda function even opens a connection to a malicious IP. With Logic product, you can easily see that in a dashboard, and even you can create an alert for that. Just a use case, one of the 100 use cases. So CloudGuard Web, it's a new generation of the web technology. We are adding some features to protect also the API traffic. As I mentioned, it's not only web services that we are exposing to internet, but also the APIs, especially for the IoT scenarios. So devices are connecting, the devices are sending some data from all over the world to API gateway or to an Nginx reverse proxy. So this is agent-based solution that we are installing an agent to the native element in the topology, which will be a Lambda function sometimes, or an API gateway could be, or as I mentioned, it could be an Nginx reverse proxy. So it's also enabling machine learning algorithms and scoring the traffic. And according to the score that we're also checking the behavior of the traffic. So the CloudGuard Web is protecting your APIs also, not only web applications. So the fifth one is CloudGuard Workload, another acquisition of Check Point. The product name was Protego Labs. Protego Labs just we acquired for, it's basically a serverless product protection, serverless runtime, and serverless deep code flow analysis. And another portion of the CloudGuard Workload product will be the container runtime and container image scanning. It's still under development. It will be GA very soon this year. So moving forward with the CloudGuard IaaS. So as I mentioned, CloudGuard IaaS, we are enabling layer 7 protection. It's a data plane protection in the cloud environment. So in this slide, you're seeing some logos that we do integrate with the CloudGuard IaaS. AWS is one of them. We actually integrate with the private cloud environments. So even Azure Stack or Cisco ACI or VMware NSXT is one of the logos that you can see here in this slide. So we are integrating with those platforms. We are provisioning our CloudGuard IaaS instance within those platforms. It will be your own environment. So it will be your next generation, so to speak, firewall in your AWS cloud account, in your Google project, in your Azure subscription. So we are enabling and participating with private, public, and hybrid cloud environments. So another thing is we are automating the security. We are constantly polling the environment. If there's any change, we can see because we are importing the objects. I will be speaking about that in more detail in upcoming slides. We are offering agile and elastic solutions. So that means since the cloud vendors are also offering those features, we are following the same logic, same idea. So in Azure, it's called VMSS, for example. In AWS, it's auto-scaling. So we also support auto-scaling features in those platforms. So the system can automatically scale up, scale down horizontally. So we can automatically provision new gateways in the environment and add to the dashboard and push the policy. So a lot of automation is happening behind the scenes. And we are integrating with the native objects within those platforms. So after the integration, after we spin up our gateway, we have also management server. In Checkpoint in general, we are managing our gateways by using a management server. So it's a two components of overall Checkpoint family. So the management server is control plane and the gateway is the data plane. So we are pushing the policy from the management. We are checking the logs. We are changing the policy or checking, troubleshooting the traffics in the management. But the gateway is focusing on the data plane protection. It's inline packet inspection layer. So native objects, what I mean with native objects, if it is AWS, we are importing those objects from AWS platform. So we are importing the subnets you have, the EC2s you have, the VPCs you have, or even the tags you have. Because in a more mature environments, we are seeing that the tag function is really used, uh, um, commonly used. So for classification the workloads. So our customers are creating tags for different purposes, for separating workloads into different logics, for development, for production, for test, or by organizational units. I mean, for HR, they're setting some tags for development people, DevOps people. Those EC2s are belonging to the other people, or maybe for some customers if it is an MSP model. So it's perfectly matching with the isolation of the and creating micro segments within the environment. So those native objects, we can consume them and we can create a firewall policy using those native objects. So we are not anymore creating objects manually. I will be showing that in upcoming slides. So North, South, and East, West data plane security, I already mentioned about that. And the most important part for the CloudGuard IaaS is we are consolidating the management. So especially for the Checkpoint customers, since they are using Checkpoint management servers to manage their Checkpoint gateways, so they can continue using this simple decentralized single management. It will be a single pane of glass. So it doesn't matter if you have 2 CloudGuard IaaS gateways in AWS, 3 in Azure, another 2 appliance in your data center, or maybe you have 5 different gateways, other gateways in NSXT, which is a private cloud. So you can manage all those virtual and physical gateways from a consolidated management of Checkpoint. So this is really different if you check the competitive products available in the market. So specific for CloudGuard IaaS, after we integrating the platforms, public and private cloud, so we are enabling our features, our next-gen features, our trademark technologies, threat emulation, threat extraction to protect against zero-day attacks. It's not only those features, actually, the features that we're enabling here all will be available for our customers. Again, for them to consume those technologies. Especially for a Checkpoint customer, it's a bit dramatic. Actually, they are using those technologies. They were using those technologies in their data centers for many years, but when they move into the cloud, they are losing those features, the layer 7 protection layer. So with CloudGuard IaaS, actually, our idea is to bring those technologies again for our customers that they can enable in their own cloud account, or their own subscription or Google project. So it's a perfect the idea to have layer 7 protection in the data plane layer. So moving forward with some getting more technical slides. This is the blueprint that we created as a best practice for our customers. So it's basically hub and spoke architecture. Hubs mean actually the CloudGuard IaaS instances. In AWS, it will be an EC2, a gateway. Actually, it will be using our AMI image. So it will be a firewall up and running, waiting for the traffic for inspection. So we can manipulate the routing behavior in cloud platform. Of course, each cloud platform has different rules, different devices, different logical terms to manipulate those routings. In AWS, even we have options. I'm going to speaking about it. Transit VPC, transit gateway, a new logical items that we can consume. So here is the cloud security blueprint is basically, as I mentioned, a hub and spoke architecture to inspect the traffic coming from the internet or going to the internet, or maybe, of course, uh, during our cloud journey, we will start moving some resources to the cloud, but in the end, we will still need an IPsec VPN communication or layer 2 MPLS direct line, which is an express route or direct connect from our data center to the public cloud environment. So we can even terminate this IPsec VPN tunnel using a southbound hub, a Check Point CloudGuard IaaS instance. Actually, during the lab, during the demo, I'm going to show it you. This is happening. I mean, I provisioned a single gateway in AWS, and I provisioned another one in Azure. So I ended up, terminated the IPsec VPN tunnel in both gateways. So they're speaking. I mean, I connected my Azure environment and AWS through an IPsec VPN tunnel. So I'm going to be demonstrating that with you. The other traffic type is the fourth one, is the most important, actually, the lateral movement. It's the east-west traffic, the between the spokes. Specifically for AWS, if you want to enable microsegmentation, you need to divide your workloads, your EC2s, into different VPCs. This is the prerequisite in AWS environment. But in Azure, it's different. Thanks to UDR feature, it's a user-defined route. There's no necessity to have multiple VNets. Even for a single subnet, you can enable traffic redirection for the two VMs sitting in the same subnet. So let me speak about the components of the solution. I actually started somehow with the gateway. It will be the inspection point. It will be an EC2 in AWS and waiting for the traffic for inspection to enable layer 7 protection and all the features of Check Point. And the second component is CloudGuard controller. For the people who are not familiar with the Check Point products, as I mentioned in the beginning, we have a management, we have a gateway. So the controller is actually in the management. So it's not a separated installation. It's not a different solution. It's just like a script or, working on the management server. So we are just enabling it. It's actually helping us to integrate with the cloud platform. So this is the component. I mean, the controller is the component speaking with the SDN layer of the AWS. I'm giving an example for AWS, but if it is, let's say, a Cisco ACI, for example, in our data center, the APIC server is the SDN layer of this platform. So the controller on our side is the component speaking with the APIC. So this is the SDN layer communication, of course, using APIs. So we are not installing anything into your AWS cloud account. So after we integrate with the platform, so it's simple topology. Simple rule base I'm showing you here, addressing both multi-cloud and hybrid cloud approach. So we are importing objects. Actually, the controller helping us with this capability. After the integration, controller is importing all the objects from the platform, and we are able to consume those objects to create a firewall policy, as I'm showing you in the example. For example, if you look at the rule number 3, it's a perfect example for a hybrid cloud. So there's a traffic initiated from my vCenter object. This is my data center to AWS tag, and I'm allowing some ports for MS SQL. So those objects are not created manually. We imported those objects from the platform. And if you look rule number 5, for example, from Azure subnet to EC2 object, this is a multi-cloud example. So we can still looking to the same dashboard, the same policy view, and we can consume the objects coming from different platforms, and we can create the firewall policy. Another thing the controller is doing is more important. The controller is constantly keeping track of those objects. Each 30 seconds, we are asking a question. We are making an API call to the other side. So for AWS tag specifically, what is the change? Is there any change happening? I mean, if someone created a new EC2 and set the same tag, this change will be automatically reflected here. So you don't need to open the dashboard. You don't need to update the policy or update the object or push the policy. So all those things are happening automatically. So the controller is updating the object by polling the platform, by making the API poll, and updating the object database in both management and the gateway side. So there's no requirement to wake up in the middle of the night if someone changes the configuration in your DevOps organization. So the policy will be automatically reflected by itself. So this is adaptive policy, as we call it. So another screenshot for the people who are managing Checkpoint will be, this screenshot will be more familiar with, for them. So in this example, the customers, this example customer is managing their existing security gateway. This is a physical appliance of Checkpoint. In the same dashboard, in the same management, they're managing the other Checkpoint product, which is Capsule Cloud. But in the same dashboard, we are still looking to the same single management dashboard. They have a hybrid cloud approach. So in their data center, they are, pushing the policy to the CloudGuard IaaS instance in NSX, another one in AWS. So this is a single pane of glass and managing everything by looking to the one policy. It's pretty basic. Some deployment methods for AWS specifically, of course, we can, as I mentioned, we support auto scaling. So the system can automatically scale up, scale down by itself, of course, according to the thresholds that we defined in this auto scale configuration. So if we see a new traffic demand, or if we see a high CPU usage in the gateways, so the AWS can provision automatically. So the new gateways will be added to the dashboard automatically again, and we'll be getting the same policy. So the traffic will be distributed, of course, by using the native application or network load balancer offered by AWS. So in front of our autoscale group and behind the scaling group, there will be a load balancer automatically coming with the CloudFormation template. So it will be automatically distributed between the gateways. So another approach is transit VPC. So as I mentioned, if you want to enable microsegmentation for East-West, you should have multiple VPCs. And if you want to enable VPC to VPC traffic inspection, actually this topology was before the transit gateway development of AWS. So we were doing transit VPC integration by initiating the peers automatically. Of course, after setting the tag in the new VPC, we were we are still doing that. Actually, it's not ended. We are still, the customers are still provisioning the transit VPC architecture for many reasons, of course. But this is also another one of the deployments of our offering. And another one is, a transit gateway, as I mentioned. It's a new development by AWS. Not that new, actually. It was maybe a year ago that it became GA in many regions of AWS. So it's like a regional router. You can provision it's as a service router. So it will be your a centralized router, like a backbone router. So you can attach VPCs if you want to enable east-west inspection. You can play with the routing tables within your AWS Transit Gateway. So you can manipulate the default routing behavior easier than the previous approach. In Transit VPC, it was a bit like a headache if you have more than 10 or maybe 15 VPCs. So I'm speaking about pretty mature environments. We have customers who have more than 100 VPCs. If you are still trying to peer them all together to enable inspection to east-west for north-south, it was a pretty tough configuration. So because of the customer's requirement of, this requirement came to AWS from the AWS customers. So they developed a transit gateway approach. So we also have an integration with that. So you're seeing a pretty simple topology, but of course, we also updated our blueprint because of the developments happening in AWS. So we are now able to, again, the same approach for inbound traffic, for outbound traffic, for north-south, for the east-west also. With the latest version of Checkpoint, which is our 80.40, we have now active and active geo-cluster could be part of that AWS Transit Gateway topology. And we can attach the CloudGuard cluster for east-west protection to the transit gateway. For the inspection between the different VPCs. So another topology for multi-cloud, of course, we can provision CloudGuard IaaS instances in AWS by following the same logic, the best practice blueprint, northbound, southbound. You can do the same in Azure. It will be a multi-cloud. So this is a multi-cloud topology. So, but for the Check Point customers, they can still continue using their on-premise physical appliances. So it will be the same management. They can still continue using that for managing all those virtual and physical gateways. Another topology is showing Azure, but I just wanted to share the idea here. On the left side, it's a public cloud, public Azure. Here in the customer on-premise data center, there are Check Point gateways, physical appliances, but there's also Azure Stack, which is the private cloud extension of the public Azure. It's a private cloud solution. So as you see, there are CloudGuard IaaS logos over there in some physical appliances of Check Point, but you're seeing only one single smart management. So this is a consolidated management, a single pane of glass to manage everything. So before moving into Dom9, we just wanted to ask you another question that it will be only one poll. Julian, could you please roll that?
Yeah, it's on.
Just wanted to understand if you're having a DevOps organization in your organization, in the company. So because the rest of the presentation is focusing the things DevOps people are doing or not. I mean, I will be speaking about more governance and compliancy and enhancing the visibility in our environment.
I see that currently the situation is 50-50.
Oh, okay. So,
but it's still, I guess, quite a good rate, I would say, from my experience.
Okay. So, let me share again.
Just a moment, I'll share the results.
Okay. No, it is a bit higher. Okay. So let me share again, continue the presentation. So up until now, I spoke about the data plane protection, the inline packet inspection. It's a virtual firewall in the environment. And after this slide, I'm going to be speaking about the other portion. As I mentioned, if you remember the threat, new attack vectors and the threat landscape, I spoke about wrongdoings, wrong configurations, and the compliancy. So Dom9 is focusing that part. Reading your configuration, we are onboarding your cloud account. So specifically for Dom9, we have integration with AWS, with Google and Microsoft Azure platforms. It's pure a SaaS product. We are not installing any agent into your environment. We are just using APIs. And we also have an integration with the Kubernetes environments. So Dom9 became GA a couple of months ago. We can onboard a Kubernetes cluster, both from public cloud environment, also from your on-prem. Even for on-prem, we have many customers using, let's say, a Red Hat OpenShift, for example, for container architecture, for their container operation. So we can onboard the Kubernetes cluster also into Dom9 from on-prem. So what do we have in the Dom9? We have predefined checks, almost 2,000 different checks, checking different types of configuration for S3, specifically for IAM users, IAM policies, or maybe security group inbound, outbound configuration. For many different aspects, we have a huge database, predefined rules. And in our organization in Check Point, we have a dedicated compliance team, constantly adding new rules, updating the security bundles. Since we have more than 30 different compliance frameworks in the database. So if there's any change happening in the ISO 27001 or actually changes are happening, especially for CIS recently, they updated the version to 1.4. So we updated the database. So they added some rules, should be checked for the container environment, the CIS new version. So we just changed and updated our rule sets in the database automatically, and not automatically, of course, the people are doing that. But as a customer of Dom9, this change is happening automatically for yourself. And Dom9 is also enabling auto-remediation. I'm going to speak in detail in the upcoming slides. So let me show you some screenshots, some fancy screenshots from Dom9. So first of all, as I mentioned, we need to understand the cloud inventory, how many assets we have, how many load balancers we have, how many VPCs in which regions we do operate in our cloud account. So how many network policies? I mean, of course, this is the native security I'm speaking right now. It's pure NSGs if it is Azure, or it will be SG. It will be a security group in AWS platform. So after we onboarding your cloud account into Dom9 platform, so it will be reading your configuration. By the way, the onboarding takes only 5 minutes. It's not a common thing for maybe Check Point POCs, but it's really happening that way. We are starting the meeting with the customer. We are just adding the cloud account into the Dom9 platform. So it takes only 5 minutes to onboard a cloud account. Another 5 minutes for letting Dom9 to read your metadata. I mean, you're collecting your inventory, collecting your configuration, and immediately after a couple of minutes, 10 minutes, less than 15 minutes, Dom9 is showing the, what you really have in your environment. First of all, of course, it starts with identifying your cloud workloads, your services, your assets in the inventory, and of course, continuing with the network policies. And in a couple of minutes, Dom9 is going to start, drawing some topologies. I mean, from a networking perspective, and also from, it starts with high-level networking aspect. Of course, here I'm showing you, for example, here, this topology is showing the VPCs we have in a region and how they are connected. If we have a peering between the VPCs, it will be shown here according to your configuration. Dom9 is able to understand and read those configurations, and it will be available for you to use. And even for the new features added by the AWS, like Transit Gateway is one of them, it's about to be GA, and it will be shown here in the middle of everything, in between all of your connections. There will be a Transit Gateway logo. A couple of weeks, it will be GA. So in between everything, so the regional router will be shown as a unit in the topology, so you can easily understand the high level topology in your environment. So it will be a visualization of your configuration into topologies. It's not only a network topology. The other one is, I'm showing you here, is a low level posture topology. So your actual configuration, your security group configuration will be, visualized by Dom9 according to your configuration. So we will be reading your inbound and outbound rules in the SGs, in the security groups. And according to that, we will place those security groups, actually those little squares are security groups, and we will position those security groups under different civil lanes. So different colors means different internet exposure. So if you are opening all ports to any IPs, it's a DMZ section. It's a pretty dangerous area, so you need to be really careful about those configurations under DMZ. So different colors means different exposure levels. Of course, internal zone, it's 100% protected. There's no internet exposure. So it's, again, I mean, the virtualization of your configuration. So you cannot see if you go to the AWS console. Actually, we will be doing that in the demo. It's really hard to, imagine your configuration in a topological view. So Dom9 is going to be helping you on that. Another screenshot from a compliancy result. So we support almost maybe more than 40 numbers. We are adding more in monthly basis, and new compliance frameworks supported in the database available for your consumption. So as I mentioned, after onboarding your cloud account in 5 minutes, you can just click an assessment. You can check your configuration if you're compliant or not. So a screenshot from a compliance report is showing a test score we have, how many, in which regions, I mean, we are operating. So according to the severity level, there will be a lot of details. You can export those, compliance reports to share with an auditor, to share with a CISO, or you can create an executive report. You can, of course, you can do the manual ad hoc reports, but also you can let Dom9 to constantly check your configuration. It's called continuous compliance. So you can schedule according to the frequency you want, daily basis, weekly basis, or quarterly basis. You can let Dom9 to constantly check your configuration. And of course, alert you. It can send email to you. It can we can open tickets for you if someone creates an S3 bucket and makes it public. This is a wrong configuration. We can send an email. We can open a ticket to an ITSM tool, and even most importantly, we can auto-remediate that finding. So a bunch of different, compliance checks available in the database. But besides that, we also have some best practices specifically for S3, specific for serverless, and for other different types of workloads you can have. We're checking, of course, more configuration than the compliance frameworks, but because they're only focusing for the attack vectors, but we're also suggesting you to have some configurational, improvements in your environment. So those are the best practices. So speaking about auto-remediation, it's an open source project. We are enabling it online. So the reason I'm telling you it's open source, because you can create your own use case, you can create your own code, and you can let online to automatically remediate. So basically the topology looks like that way. So when I start speaking about auto-remediation of feature of online, the customers are asking me, do you want me to give a read-write privilege to a third-party software? So our answer is no, because we don't need that. So our compliance template will be constantly checking. It's a continuous compliance, checking your configuration. Of course, you can use those predefined rules, almost 2,000 rules available for you to create auto-remediation rule, or even you can create your own rule. We have a dedicated GSL rule builder for that. You can, by clicking buttons, you can create your own checks. You can create your own company policy. You don't need to be a scripting guru, because in AWS, there's an AWS config, for example. You can do that, but you should know how to write a script, how to do an API call to AWS. So in the end, you need to work with a DevOps guy, but there's a product on that. So in the same time, we are trying to understand what DevOps guys are doing, if they're doing things are, in a compliant way or in a bad way. But in the same time, if they're still using the native tools, we need to still work with them. So if you ask a question to a DevOps guy, did you enable encryption? They will immediately tell you yes. But I mean, are they really double checking their configuration? Most of the times, they are copying and pasting some stuff. They are copying scripts from the previous, previous CloudFormation scripts or Terraform scripts, and they are making the same mistake by copying and pasting and provisioning again. So so auto-remediation is really important in this perspective. So let's say if someone creates an S3 bucket and forgets enabling versioning, for example, if it's the company policy in the production VPC. So Dom9 will be automatically sensing this new S3 bucket is created. Oh, but without this configuration, there's no versioning enabled. So this is going to be a compliance finding for us for Dom9. So it will be triggering a function. So where this function is sitting, actually, it's sitting literally in the customer cloud account. So we are not taking any action. We are just triggering a function which sits in the cloud account of the customer, and this function is taking an action. It's not Dom9. Dom9 is just sensing the wrongdoing, the misconfiguration, and triggering the function. So the reason of, as we called CloudBots, is an open source project. In the end, in those functions, there are Python scripts available. Of course, there are many use cases in the GitHub repository of the CloudBots, but you can create your own Python script according to the auto-remediation that you want to enable. This is the open source idea. So you can create your own GSL rule. You can let Dom9 to trigger your own serverless Lambda function to do the action according to your requirements. So we can do that. So I just want to wrap up before moving to the demo, because we have 30 minutes left. I also want to hear your questions. I will be doing a quick demo. For wrapping up the things I described, explained in the presentation part. So we are, putting a centralized security with a continuous, posture management, a traffic inspection up to layer 7, enabling advanced threat prevention. This is the security part, and using some automation tools. By the way, we are also a provider of Terraform, for example, both Checkpoint and Dome9 products. You can, provision our, instances or change the configuration using automation tools. Ansible is also another one. We have a management API. You can, if you're using any APIs or automation tools in your organization, so Checkpoint can be part of that. And even from the application lifecycle perspective, if you're using CI/CD pipeline, so we can be part of those phases within the CI/CD pipeline, from submitting the code to the production layer. So it will be many different phases. So you can let Dome9 to check your configuration and posture constantly. And it's, of course, we are enabling those features everywhere in public and private cloud environments. So across any workloads, it doesn't matter if you have EC2s, it's a traditional virtualization, but in the same customer environment, we are seeing a container cluster or a serverless functions, bunch of functions doing different triggering actions, activities. So it doesn't matter how many or what kind of assets, workloads you have. So of course, some logos I want to share with you, especially from the countries that have high cloud adoption levels. Of course, North US or maybe UK from Europe could be an example for that. So it's really used really intense usage of the cloud platforms from those countries, but it's boosting up each day, even after this Corona thing happened. I mean, the digitalization projects, the companies are changing their ideas, their thinking about digitalization and moving to the cloud, and they're pushing some policies and moving really fast. We are hearing from many customers, they just pressed the button and they just started the project, the migration to the cloud project. I mean, so it's boosting everywhere. So let me move into the demo section. For demo, let me firstly show you the topology, okay, that I just created for today. So this is the topology for today. Of course, you're seeing some multi-cloud here. I tried to simulate something here. So for the Azure part, you can consider the Azure part as an on-prem data center, okay? You can consider this as on-premise data center as a physical layer of still the customer is managing and doing the daily operation in their physical data centers. And as I mentioned, there will be a requirement to have a side-to-side VPN tunnel between your on-prem to the public cloud environment. So this is just a simulation of that. And on the left part, this is the AWS topology. It could be, pretty similar, pretty basic topology, but I will try to do many different tests, many different, communications. Especially, I created a couple of policies, both for side-to-side VPN, also for, a north-south traffic inspection, and I consumed and used tags from AWS. So, and I will also try to do some, DevOps configuration change. I will simulate that. I will change the tag, and we will see how it is reflected in the policy and how the traffic will be dropped accordingly. So let's start. Firstly, I need to show you the environment that I just created. So on the left side, as you're seeing, this is the AWS portion. We have CloudGuard IaaS instance here as it's a single gateway with two interfaces. One is outside, the other one is inside, of course. So, and also I provisioned two EC2s, one for web server, another one is a DB. I just gave those names just randomly. This is a single VPC we have, and we have 4 different subnets within that VPC. Let me show you also from the networking perspective. Let me show you the VPC I have. It's a Checkpoint. I just gave a name, a Checkpoint VPC. So let's wait for the AWS platform to respond my requests. So here, the Checkpoint VPC, we have 10.10.0.0/16 CIDR, and within that VPC, I have 4 subnets created, one for web server, one for DB, and 2 for Checkpoint single gateway. So this is CloudGuard IaaS instance I provisioned. Of course, I used CloudFormation template. It's an open SK of Checkpoint. So we have many different deployment options as I described in the presentations. So we have different CloudFormation scripts already defined, and you can just click and start your provisioning in a couple of minutes. I also want to add this. Most of the times, it's just the provisioning part. It's only taking a couple of minutes, 5 maybe 10 minutes to complete everything. The more time we're spending is about the whiteboard session. I mean, with the customer. I mean, what is going to be the topology? How it will be look like? I mean, what kind of traffics do they have? So how should we position Checkpoint in the topology they have? So this part is taking more time than the provisioning, because it's a cloud platform. Since we're just using scripts, automation tools, and provisioning happening in a couple of minutes. Another important point I want to pinpoint here is my management is in Azure. So you can again consider we have a management in on-prem or in any cloud platform, and I'm using the single management to manage my CloudGuard IaaS instance in AWS and Azure. So it's a single management, since I'm telling the same from the beginning. So I actually logged into the management. So this is the management dashboard that we are using this to manage checkpoint gateways, to push the policy, to create the object, to integrate with the platform. So since you're seeing, actually I created one gateway in AWS, another one in Azure. They are both up and running. My management is in Azure. I have another gateway in Google Cloud. Actually, it's shut it down right now because it's not the part of this topology of today. But if a customer wants to see a Google Cloud demonstration, I'm just enabling starting that virtual machine in the Google Cloud and doing my lab. It's just happening that way. So I added those gateways to the dashboard. So I want to show you the CloudGuard controller integration. Since I was speaking about the objects, we can import the objects, we can consume the objects after importing from the cloud platform. So I will be showing you, for example, here for AWS, I created that simple policy. Rule number 1 is if I'm exposing some services to the internet, actually I'm exposing a web service here, as you can see on the topology. So there's a free web service here. I used a Bitnami NGINX AMI from AWS. So there's a web page here saying just congratulations. This is a web page, kind of web page. So just to test if I'm exposing that service to the internet and if the traffic is logged through Check Point CloudGuard IaaS instance. So this is going to be the first demo I'm going to do right now. So for this communication, I created a policy. I'm allowing some ports, HTTP, HTTPS, and some specific ports, and I created a NAT policy. I changed the pure, HTTP port into a different one. So just to show you, we are in control, and the traffic is going to be logged by Check Point CloudGuard IaaS instance. So here, if I receive, if Check Point IaaS gateway receives a traffic from this port, it will be translated into HTTP, and this traffic will be handed over to the Web01. So a web server I provisioned in AWS. So let's try that quickly. For trying that, I need to find out my public IP attached to the EC2, to the Check Point CloudGuard IaaS instance. So let me quickly find out. So what is the public IP of Check Point Gateway? So it's here. So I will open another browser just to show you. This is going to be an ingress testing. So I'm exposing an HTTPS server service to the internet, and someone is trying to access. So it will be HTTP public IP with a different port, 8117. Is it the correct one? Yeah, it's 8117. So as you can see, it was pretty slow, maybe because of my internet connection. So it says, congratulations that you're running Bitnami, kind of blah, blah. So this is the web page. It's a free web page coming with the Bitnami NGINX AMI in AWS. So let's see the traffic logs. Is this traffic really, inspected by the Check Point IaaS instance. So for this, let me go to the logs. It's pretty slow, sorry for that. Since I'm based in Turkey, those instances are in Frankfurt's data center, so there's a bit delay, could be happening. So I will check the logs. First, let me find out my public IP. What is my IP? Because I will check in the traffic logs to see if this is really logged. So for the last hour, let me clear the filter. Okay, so this is my public IP. I just tried to access the web page exposed to the internet. So source will be my IP, my public IP from here. So we are expecting to see some traffic logs in the checkpoint, right? Specifically for the port that I just defined. So as you can see, it's 4:11. Yeah, 2 minutes ago. This is the traffic log. So let me maximize this log. So from this IP, where's my IP here, to the checkpoint gateway, from this port 8117, this is pure HTTP traffic actually, but I just changed the traffic, the port, just to show you that we are in control, that we can do a NAT operation for different ports. That means if you have multiple applications, you can have multiple different ports. You can create different NAT policies for different applications. You can map your applications to different public IPs, to different ports, so you can expose to the internet. So this traffic is handed over to the Web01 server, which is 10.10.2. something. So let me show it to you. It's this one, 161. So that was the first demonstration from north to south traffic. So let's try the other way, from south to north. So it's pure internet exposure, right? Egress traffic, sorry. So from my EC2s, I will try to do pinging, or curling google.com, or pinging Google DNS could be another test. So let me firstly open a console and connect to the console of my EC2s. So I will connect to this Web01. Okay, here it should be okay, up and running, right? So let's try the first pinging Google. It works obviously. Let me try to do some curl. Okay, we're able to communicate with Google. So I will create another filter in the source section, in the logging screen, to show you this traffic is logged. Source this time will be 10.10.0.2.161. Yeah, this is the traffic log that I'm showing you. I tried to curl. This is the port 80. I tried to ping also. The Google DNS is also logged in Check Point IaaS gateway. So let's do another exercise. As I explained to you, I created the firewall policy using tags only, not the objects, because I already configured some tagging in my AWS. So let me show this one first. My Web01 server has 3 tags. One is internet access, the value internet allowed. I'm allowing the internet. Another one is type is a web server. So for the other EC2, I have different set of tags. For the internet access, I'm not allowing. I have the different tag value attached and configured for the database one EC2, and type is database. So let's firstly, let me show you the policy that I created. So I'm using and consuming the tags. So as you can see, internet allowed, internet denied. We just imported those objects from the AWS platform by just clicking the import button and then selecting the AWS platform. So it will be a quick, pretty slow, just waiting. Sorry for the delay. It's probably because of my internet connection. So from the data center objects that I created, I will show how we import objects from the platform. So basically, I created those objects from the platform directly. I didn't create by myself. So as you're seeing right now, those are the objects available in my AWS Cloud account. I mean, how many objects we have? We have many options, of course. I'm using Frankfurt region. In this region, as it's loading, just wait for a couple of seconds. So it's showing me subnets I had, the VPCs, the instances I have, the availability zones I have. So I can create based on those logical groupings of my assets. So I'm just, I created the policy by just clicking the add button. That was really easy stuff for me. So let's try the other thing, because I'm denying internet connection for the other EC2, which is DB01. So it's also showing the DB01 IP here because it's imported from AWS platform. So let me connect to the database 01. So here I'm trying to ping the internet. It's denied because of the policy, and probably curl is not going to be giving any result. Yeah, it's not working. So still, I can show the traffic log just right here. Traffic will be dropped for the database EC2 because of the policy, because I'm dropping the internet egress traffic in the Check Point IaaS policy. So I just created just a use case here just to show you. We can create the firewall policies using tags. I didn't create that object manually. So this is the traffic log. I tried curl, it denied. I tried pinging Google DNS, it's also denied. So I will do a little tricky configuration right now. I will change the tag of the virtual machine, okay, because it's showing me internet access is denied. So I will change it to internet allowed in AWS. So you can consider DevOps people are changing the configuration, right? I was constantly telling the same thing. So the configurations will be changed all the time. Tags will be removed, new tags will be set, or they will be changing the tags, or they will be spinning up new EC2 and giving the same tag. So see what happens in our policy. So I removed EC2 from, I changed the tag, so to speak. So here it's still showing the EC2, the database 01, but after 30 seconds, it will be removed automatically because, as I mentioned, CloudGuard controller is making an API call to AWS constantly, each 30 seconds. So after this really short time, as you see, the IP is removed. So if I check again the internet allowed tag above on the rule number 3, the IP is moved here because of my configuration change I just made in AWS. So I will try to do the same test, the same ping and curl test, and see if it is allowed or not. So you see, I'm in the same EC2. This time, because of the tag changed, we are able to adapt our policy, adaptive security, and even the curl will be working again. And the same IP, the same EC2 IP will be logged in rule number 3. So this is here, the Google DNS and EC2. So last demonstration before we move into the Q&A. If you go back to the topology, I will just click, try to ping the virtual machine in Azure, just to show you if we have up and running IPsec tunnel between 2 different CloudGuard IaaS instances from AWS to Azure. I'm going to show the traffic log because it will be first encrypted here in the AWS gateway and decrypted here in the gateway in Azure. So let's do it quickly. So the IP of my web 01 in Azure, it's 10.1.0.4. So let's quickly ping that from web 01. We can do the same from DB1. Ping. Okay, so this traffic is supposed to flow through the IPsec VPN tunnel. So let's see the traffic log. I'm going to log screen. Okay, So I will, yeah, we can use the same source, just refresh the logs to see what happened. So as I told you, the same, actually, what happened, first, the packet is encrypted in the CloudGuard IaaS EC2 in AWS. So this is the log for encryption. Okay, it's getting into the IPsec VPN tunnel, and the same packet is decrypted in the CloudGuard IaaS in Azure. So if you look at the topology, encryption is happening. Oh, sorry. Encryption is happening here, and decryption is happening here. So it's a simulation of on-prem and public cloud communication over site-to-site VPN tunnel. So this is just an example. So we can try different things. We can try to access a web page again in the same IP. For port 80, it's connected, so we can see another traffic log for the port 80 will be the same, encryption and decryption on both gateways. So that was the end of the demonstration. So let's stop the share. Check if we have any questions.
Yeah, please feel free, and you know, use the occasion to ask anything, most probably connected to what we've seen here, or maybe, you know, you have some use cases from your own experience.
Yeah, there was a question in the beginning. I replied in the Q&A, but verbally I can repeat that question. The question was about a netting operation is happening in AWS. Can we do a TCP dump in AWS? So actually for TCP dump, we can do TCP dump in our solution in CloudGuard IaaS instance. But for the AWS portion, they are doing the netting operation. We're not touching that. We're not able to change this configuration. It's happening automatically. So of course, within a VPC, public IP is not allowed. So we are all using private IPs. So yeah.
I see we already have a few questions.
Yep.
Okay, would you like me to read them to you, or will you do?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So Limonas, actually the speaker on our last event, is asking: the mentioned service correlate very closely to AWS Security Hub with AWS config. Can you compare yourself with this service? I guess
so probably
quite a common question you get.
Yeah, probably very common question. This question is touching to DOM9 specifically, because in DOM9, of course, AWS is AWS Security Hub, and AWS config is providing some services, of course. But with DOM9, first of all, we are making possible for our customers to have an umbrella solution touching multi-cloud. I mean, you cannot integrate AWS Security Hub or AWS config with Google Cloud or Azure. This is first approach. And the second thing, to create some checks or policies in AWS config, you need to be a scripting guru. You need to know how to write a script, how to create an API call to the AWS. But in DOM9, it's pretty basic. We have a really user-friendly a web UI. It's called governance specific language, a GSL rule builder. So you can easily, by clicking buttons, you can create your own policy. You don't need to be a scripting guru to do that. And in a couple of seconds, if an auditor asks you a question, or if the CISO asks you a question according to your production, you can just create that policy ad hoc by yourself. It will be a really quick approach to some extent. But I mean, of course, we are competing with those products, especially AWS Security Hub, but we are also integrating with them. I mean, we are able to send the compliance findings to the AWS Security Hub, to Azure, Microsoft Security Center. So, of course, both competition and, you know, working together happening at the same time.
Great. And we have another question regarding your demo. As far as I understand, the question is if it would be available to get it, like to try it yourself. I don't know, maybe like a Terraform script or something like that. Is it somewhere available publicly, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, our resources are all available public. I mean, CloudFormation templates are available. We are a Terraform provider, so you can check in the Terraform website, HashiCorp site, so you can see how to configure or provision a CloudGuard IaaS instance in your cloud account. And for the trial version, after you provision our instance, it's coming with a trial version. Basically, it's a 15-day. You can try any features you want to see for north, south, east, west, or enabling different signatures, IPS signatures maybe, or threat prevention skills of Check Point. You can try that in your own environment for 15 days. Yeah. And of course, if you want to have a POC in your environment, so we can extend this period by creating a POC privileges for your environment. So that was for CloudGuard IaaS. Same for CloudGuard DOM 9. We can have a POC. You can use a trial version. Obviously, both solutions have available in the marketplaces also, both Azure Marketplace or AWS Marketplace. So you can download and check some stuff that you want to see in your environment.
Okay, thanks, Ozan. I see that we have no more questions at the moment. At least maybe some will pop up while we'll be closing. Any final remarks maybe from your side or recommendations like the best practice? I bet you've seen a lot on that side and with those solutions.
So for the best practices part, actually, as I mentioned, provisioning, especially for CloudGuard IaaS, it takes only 5 minutes. The most important part is the design and having a whiteboarding session, because each customer has a different deployment, different architecture, different levels of different levels of architecture, micro segmentations. So designing is the most important part. For the DOM 9 is actually it's pretty basic and easy product to onboard into your environment. So we can do that easily. For the best practices in the DOM 9, we are offering you also that you can consume our best practice bundles available in the database, and not only the compliance frameworks. So DOM 9 is going to be suggesting you from the configuration perspective. You should be doing that. You should not be opening that. You should or do's and don'ts will be coming with the database when you do a DOM 9 a POC or when you purchase the product automatically.
Good. So thank you very much then, Ozan, for presenting this. I think it should be very useful and relative to a lot of current and potential AWS customers. So big thanks for you. And
it's a pleasure.
Also, of course, thank you to everyone that attended the webinar live or will be watching the recording afterwards. And we had a few questions, but I'm sure there's a lot of specifics that could be considered and discussed in your specific use case. So please feel free to reach out to us if you're interested in going deeper into the solution and how it could work on your AWS or hybrid cloud environment. And I would like to close the event with two things. First of all, as a lot of the attendees are current AWS users, I would like to use the occasion and invite and encourage everyone to become the active part of the local AWS community. And I'll be pasting in the chat a link to a Slack channel for AWS community that we started building recently. And also, please connect to the meetups platform that we have for each meetup group for each country, which is events like this and some others are definitely already happening and more will come. So feel free to contribute or at least attend. And with such great support from AWS that we're getting and such vendors as Check Point, I'm sure we can learn a lot of stuff in the process. And the last thing is, your feedback is highly of interest to us. We need it to make the next event way better. So I'll be launching the last poll for just a simple question like how happy are you with the event, and please spend like one click on that, and we'll need the feedback, and you know, then it's very good for us to while we plan the next events.
I also want to thank you everyone, for the attendees, also for the CloudWiser for organizing such a beautiful webinar. Thanks for your patience. I was speaking a bit faster to squeeze things in a short time. Sorry for that.
You know, from what I see from the poll, I think everybody really liked your presentation. I'm sharing the results now, but like I think everybody is quite happy. I'm happy to hear that. It means, you know, it made sense for us to do this. And I guess that's it for today. Thank you everybody for watching, for tuning in the event, and let's, you know, meet in the other events, and stay safe, especially.
Stay safe, stay.
Very important
Bye-bye.
thing nowadays.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers.